In the frozen trenches of World War II, the world itself seemed to turn against the soldiers. Temperatures dropped so low that rifles jammed solid, machine gun oil congealed like wax, and breath froze mid-air. The wind carried not just snow, but death. Frostbite became an invisible enemy, striking without warning. Men who had survived artillery and shrapnel would lose fingers, toes, or even their legs to the cold. It wasn't the kind of wound that bled. It was the kind that crept. And in those bitter winters, one strange, improvised discovery would stand between life and a slow, freezing death. That weapon was soap. At first, the idea sounded absurd. Soap, the thing used to wash dirt away, protecting skin from ice? But among desperate soldiers, word spread fast. On the Eastern Front, where German and Soviet troops faced temperatures plunging to -30, small acts of ingenuity made the difference between survival and disaster. Men began rubbing bar soap onto their cheeks, noses, and fingers. It wasn't an order from command. It was trench folklore, passed from one man to another, quietly, almost like a secret ritual. What they didn't know then was that they had stumbled upon a lesson in chemistry and physiology that would later be proven true. Winter during the Second World War wasn't just harsh, it was apocalyptic. In Russia, soldiers froze solid at their posts. Horses turned to statues overnight. The ground was too hard to bury the dead. In the Ardennes, American troops faced the Battle of the Bulge, surrounded, undersupplied, and freezing. The cold gnawed at them like an animal. Gloves stiffened, boots trapped sweat that turned to ice, and the skin beneath split and blackened. Frostbite claimed tens of thousands, and when ointments ran out, when fuel was gone, and when rations were too low to keep warm, necessity forced invention. The trick was simple, almost childishly so. Soldiers rubbed a thin layer of soap over their exposed skin, especially where frostbite struck first. The nose, cheeks, and hands. Once applied, the soap dried into a thin, waxy film that sealed out wind and moisture. That film slowed down heat loss from the skin, a process known as evaporative cooling. In freezing conditions, the skin loses heat rapidly when exposed to dry air and wind, but the soap film created a microscopic barrier that trapped natural oils and prevented the body's moisture from escaping too fast. It wasn't perfect protection, but it bought time. And in war, time meant life. Wartime soap wasn't the kind we know today. Modern soap is made from detergents that strip away oil. But World War II soap was made from animal tallow, a fatty substance rendered from beef or mutton fat mixed with lye. That old-fashioned soap left a residue rich in fatty acids and glycerin. When rubbed on the skin, that residue formed a greasy, hydrophobic coating. Hydrophobic simply means water-repelling. It didn't allow moisture to penetrate or escape easily. That coating insulated the skin, much like how fur or wax keeps animals dry in the snow. In essence, it turned human skin into its own weatherproof shell. Accounts from veterans describe the method clearly. They'd take a small bar of soap, often one warmed in a pocket or near a campfire ember, and rub it gently between their palms until it softened. Then they'd smear a thin layer on their cheeks, over the tip of their nose, or across their knuckles. The goal wasn't to lather, it was to seal. Too thick, and it would crack in the cold. Too thin, and it wouldn't hold. Soldiers joked that it was like spreading butter on bread, a fine balance, and when supplies ran low, they shared slivers, melted scraps, or mixed soap with wax to stretch every bit of protection they could. Soviet troops in Karelia and Finland often mixed grated soap with candle wax, melting the blend into a greasy balm. German mountain units used similar pastes, sometimes adding a drop of oil from gun-cleaning kits. American medics recorded soldiers coating their hands and faces before night patrols. By 1943, both British and U.S. field manuals quietly mentioned using fat-based barriers against frostbite, not as official doctrine, but as practical wisdom from the front. Some soldiers even rubbed soap into the fabric of their cuffs and boot seams. It made the cloth slightly water-resistant, helping keep out slush and melting snow. In war, every ounce of prevention mattered. After the war ended, scientists and Arctic explorers studied these improvised techniques. They found that fat-based barriers like soap, lanolin, and whale oil truly slowed frostbite onset by reducing heat loss and maintaining skin hydration. In the 1950s, Arctic warfare manuals officially recommended grease barriers for soldiers stationed in polar regions. Petroleum jelly and lanolin replaced soap, but the principle remained identical. Seal in body heat, repel wind and moisture. The soap trick, once born out of desperation, quietly evolved into modern cold-weather skincare and survival techniques. It was a lesson written not by scientists, but by soldiers freezing in silence. The principle still works. If you ever find yourself in sub-zero conditions with no protective ointment, a bar of soap can still help. Warm it gently, rub a small amount onto exposed skin, and let it dry to a thin layer. It won't feel comfortable, but it will block wind and reduce heat loss. In survival settings, even rubbing soap into the seams of gloves or boots can add mild waterproofing. Many high-fat or glycerin soaps used by survivalists today intentionally mimic the same formula. Rich in oils, less detergent, more protection. The science behind it hasn't changed. Only the world around it has. The story of the soap trick isn't just about chemistry. It's about the human instinct to adapt. These soldiers weren't scientists or inventors. They were men caught in unthinkable cold, thinking creatively with whatever they had. A bar of soap, something ordinary, became a tool for survival. It's a powerful reminder that survival doesn't always come from advanced technology or expensive equipment. Sometimes it comes from understanding, knowing how to use the simple things around you in extraordinary ways. As we look back today, that humble bar of soap tells a story far greater than itself. It represents resourcefulness, knowledge passed quietly through frozen trenches, and the will to endure when nature itself became the enemy. The next time you hold a simple bar of soap, remember, once it was more than just a tool for washing. It was armor, it was hope, and it was proof that human ingenuity, even in the darkest, coldest places, never freezes. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, consider subscribing for more tales of hidden history.